Hey, peace and freedom. Nini, welcome. I'm Queen Mother Imaku, and it is Khametic Resurrection Week. As I break down the symbols that are associated with the Resurrection Week that is known around the world, associated with the well-known Resurrection Week, but it comes out of the Khametic origins of the Hapi Valley. And as a motivational speaker and as a Khametic minister, it is important for us to realize that this is an important time for us because we have an opportunity to be able to rebirth ourselves. It's important for us to believe that we have power and that we are able to regenerate ourselves. Yes, indeed, and tap into that which is harmonious with our ancient traditions in the here and now. Yes, indeed. But it's also important for us to understand our ancient history and to know what is, what was, and also what will be, and what can be. And so I welcome you to join in, learn about our traditions as I continue to try to adjust the lighting here. It seems a bit harsh. Although I'm still trying to also adjust to this whole thing with Restream because I'm still not happy with the quality of the stream. I'm trying to figure out if that's because of the location with where I live, you know, if it's just not strong enough or if it's just Restream. So as I'm adjusting here, how is the music? Let me know. I think I'm going to cut that overhead light there too. Give me just a moment. I'm going to do that. Hoping everyone had a really wonderful and positive day. It was a really excellent day for me. We say Heru Akea, which means have an excellent day. Hold on just a moment. I'm just going to cut this light. Let me grab no light. And that seems too dark. That's too dark, isn't it? That's a little too dark. I'll have to bring in one of my lights from the other room tomorrow. Too dark, yeah. I'll have to bring in my lighting equipment. Balance things out. Christina, how are you? I changed from my other room into this one. And good. Hope you had a great day. Actually, I'm great. I had a really productive day. Super, super productive day. And so we're looking forward to tonight's talk. I started talking yesterday about the palm frond. And this is the one that I actually got yesterday from the service that was sponsored by the South Ward Councilman Head Council. And so I took mine, I put it in a loop, and I talked about the importance of understanding about the palm frond. Trisha, how are you? Thank you for your donation yesterday. And so I talked about it being like the chenille because it's looped in an oval, but I also talked about it being like the well, here's what I was trying to remember, that it's this is actually, I was trying to remember the tetnot, T-Y-E-T. The tetnot, which is associated with Tawort and also with Iset. The tetnot, which represents fidelity. Now, this is why it's very significant. This is also what is this loop here is also seen at the end of the symbol associated with the shepherd, and not the tetnot in particular, but the loop. And this loop, which makes you think of fidelity or loyalty, makes you think of the shepherd, because the shepherd is very loyal to his or her flock. Now, before I go any further, let me also call in protection around our space. Wherever you are, let's focus on calling in positive energy. Let's focus on calling in good vibes. Let's focus on also, since where, at least where I am, we've entered into the next day. We've entered into Tuesday. And you know, Tuesday the 3rd, or Monday the 3rd was my father's birthday. He transitioned in 2006, and his birthday was the 3rd. Although for years we thought it was the 4th. He thought it was the 4th until he got his actual birth record later in life and found that his birthday was actually the 3rd. So I honored him today, and his energy was very strong. He's a really strong guardian for me. And no, don't say you're sorry, because he's a strong ancestor for me. He really works with me, and so he speaks with me strong in the spirit realm. Let me tell you, he's a really great angelic force for me. Yeah, just change the level of this. Move this up a little bit more. This angle is a little higher. Yeah. Secure that. There we go. That's better. Yeah. There we go. I got to change this sacred space today. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Your birthday was the 1st, Christina? Oh, Heru Mesut Hari. Happy birthday. Hope the day was great for you. Yeah. And Trisha's birthday is the 12th. An early happy birthday, Heru Mesut, for you. Heru Mesut Hari. Heru is day. Mesut is birth. Hari is happy. And in the Khametic language, that's the order that the words go in. Yeah, so Heru is day. What kind of day? Mesut, the day of birth. And another descriptive behind it, happy, okay? So, always going to be learning if you're hanging around me, especially on this channel. Okay. So, no, do not say you're sorry, because my dad is having a good time in the afterlife and is being an excellent guide for me. Indeed, he was always a mystic, so much to the point where he was a Mason, and we had no idea that he was a Mason until after he passed away. I'm sure my mother knew, but my parents split when I was 6, and he remarried later in life. His second wife had no idea until she was cleaning out his things in his office. And, his office, that was his man cave. It wasn't like your typical man cave, because my dad was like super clean, okay? He was this clean freak and rather OCD. Although that's a trait on the Lloyd side of the family. That's just a thing, Anybody who's a slob on the Lloyd side of the family, that's just not even like normal. That's if you have any kind of slobbish tendencies, then there's something wrong with you if you're a Lloyd, okay? So anyway, but in my dad's office, my stepmom found all of his Masonic stuff. She sent me his Masonic stuff, not knowing what to do with it. And she, his apron and all this other stuff. She said, "Did you know your dad was a Mason?" I said, "No." And she knew that I'm into mystical stuff. Look at my life. And she said, "I figured you would know what to do with it." I don't do with stuff. I didn't know. So I held on to it for a long time until somebody told me, and actually somebody on our thread who actually has become a good friend of mine, and she was an Eastern Star, So she hit me to the fact that I was going to need to return his artifacts to the lodges because he belonged to two. And, in order for him to have proper ceremony, so he would be at peace. And so, anyway, so, yeah. I returned the one. One ended up mysteriously disappearing from my house, but that's another story. But anyway, yeah. But yes, that's so true. That's very true. My mother did pass away on the 12th, on your birthday. Yeah. Easter Sunday. That year, Easter Sunday was on the 12th. Yeah. And she was supposed to pass away the week before. And I always tell the story now that even though the doctor told me that she was going to pass away on the Monday, that I said, no, my mother will wait until Easter Sunday, so that way we'll be forced to talk about her every Easter. And that's exactly what happened. So anyway, back to Dad. So yeah, Dad is the mystic supreme. He comes to me and he reveals things to me. He see, the thing is, the more attuned I become, the more aware I am, the more I'm able to hear his guidance. And just like today, I was reorganizing my sacred space here. And as I'm cleaning, I'm hearing this, and okay. And even now, there's this running gag between my dad and I if I misplace my phone. And it's dark. So it's so funny how I will tend to put my phone down on dark surfaces and then go about my business. Usually I try to keep it with me, so that way in case I hear it, in case somebody calls me. But I'll go about my business and then I'll put my phone down. I'll be like, oh man, where's my phone? Looking around, and I'll stop and I'll say, Dad, where's my phone? And he will lead me to exactly where it is. Running gag, So anyway, but yeah, there are so many things where, especially now, things I was not aware of. And all I have to do is listen. And things that just like, boom, 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 things I did not know. Yeah. And I had a couple of readers who were telling me, your father is trying to get you to listen, okay? Because now he's your guide, now that he's transitioned. And your energy is elevated now. And he's trying to tell you stuff, but you have to just listen, and I've been through a whole lot of stuff. And so now that I've gotten past a whole lot of trauma and I've gotten, this is why it's important to deal with your trauma. That's why the book, okay? So it help you get past your trauma, so that way once you've gotten all this garbage out of the way, well, no, I want to call it garbage because, once you deal with trauma and you realize that there are lessons attached to them, but once you are able to work your way through the trauma and get the lessons and shift the vibrations so that you are able to recircuit yourself and actually you can make yourself from a shamanistic standpoint. And I know there's a lot of controversy about that word shaman. Some say that it's more of a westernized way of looking at things. Others say that Westerners have desecrated the term, and I understand that. But as a healer who has tapped back into indigenous faith practices, all right, There is value in the word once you understand what the real meaning behind it is. As a healer, who listens to other realms and who works with the other realms from the indigenous faith practice side of things, then you get it. In fact, there is truth to the notion and the belief that the wounded healer is the calling or the call of the true shaman. In the water practice, that's true, okay? In fact, I have a really, well, had, somebody stole the daggone book from me. It's believed for many indigenous people that when you have epilepsy, if a child has epilepsy, that it is recognized that you should give that child to the healer of the people for training to be the apprentice to the healer, because that child is going to grow up to be the healer of the people. That's true. Now, it's also true that this whole bibbity bop 1 year study, and then all of a sudden you're going to become the next priest or priestess and you're going to put out your shingle, is a ridiculous notion. Okay. And I've come to realize that, when whoever started that was foolish, disrespectful to the tradition, because you cannot possibly learn everything that you need to know in order to start your own healing practice, if you will. Would you go to a physician who has only gone to medical school for a year? Even in going for 4 years, you can't go. No doctor has gotten training for 4 years. Okay? Now, if you look at the Masonic system, and the Masonic system is based on the temple system that came out of ancient Kemet. All right. The whole 33rd degree system that was set up for a reason. You don't go get your first year and then all of a sudden go and set up your own temple. Do you? No. You go and you stay, because you still got a whole lot of stuff to learn. And that's the truth. I remember when I joined the metaphysical church that I was going to, right? Years ago. Back in the late 80s, I was gifted, right? I was very highly intuitive. That gift came from both my mother's side and my father's side. Very highly psychic people. All right. I mean, that really eerie psychic, and so I got that naturally. And I mean, animals would just automatically come to me. When I was 14, my parakeet would automatically come to me. I mean, I tuned in with the parakeet, and I would be in one room, and I would just think, my parakeet I named Elton. I liked Elton John music, so I named him Elton. I thought Elton was a cool name. I'd be standing in my living room, and my parakeet would be in my bedroom, and I would think, Elton, come. And I'd put my hand up, and Elton would open the door to his cage and come and fly to me in the house. Okay. I think my mother was a little afraid of me. Okay. Stuff like that would happen. That's just who I was, But anyway, in my late, and I would read people, you generally, when somebody takes my hand or I touch them, I can read them. It's skin to skin contact. I mean, I don't tell people that because otherwise people would be afraid to hug me. But I recognized that I needed to be around other people who would help me to hone my gifts and understand also the deeper aspects of what I was, what I could do, and also so I could have conversation with other people who experience the same thing. And I wanted to learn more, so I put the energy out there to find other people, a community. And there was a metaphysical church out in Allentown, PA, and so I wanted to go just to hang around other people and to be able to learn more and to be able to drop in when I felt like it, Well, I didn't realize that I was going to end up becoming an ordained minister through them because that was my calling. That's not what I intended at all. And here's the thing, though. I couldn't understand how it was that people would go after 4 years. You had to put in 2 years as a healing minister, and then you had to go for another 2 years to graduate as an ordained minister. And people, they would go, and they wouldn't go and start their own church or their own community. They would stay right there in that church. It was a church full of ministers. And I thought, why don't they go anywhere? There were very, very few that would go off and start their own thing, but they would always stay connected to the church. And I thought, that's so weird. Why do they stay right here? And they continued taking classes, and, they stayed right there in the church community, continued, with our celebrations and our different events, and they stayed right there in the church. I was like, what's up with this? Now, all these years later, I get it. Because you need to continue to learn. You have to continue to learn. Let me tell you something. The first time that I had the Kabbalion put in my hand by the master teacher who took me out of one of the classes, as I was in the neophyte class for the Tarot. I took one class and she took me out and she said, you don't belong here. She said, you're too advanced. But she hit me to the mystery school that she belonged to. And through that, it was the first time I had the Kabbalion put in my hand. That was back in 1996. And all these years later, there are some of the principles that I have a deeper understanding of finally. Last year is when things like opened up. This is after all these years. This is 2023. Because you have to keep living. You got to keep living. You have to keep readdressing these principles because you do not have the experiences and the wisdom yet. You can read these things, and you have certain experiences that you go through in life, and you have certain knowledge that you apply to it, but also you're not mature enough to get a lot of these things. You're smart, yes, absolutely. Because once you deal with a lot of these things, many people that come to this knowledge are, you have a bunch of very intelligent people. When you're drawn to this way of life, a lot of us are eggheads. Come on, all these people on the thread here right now, I know you're smart, It's not a matter of just intelligence. There's something deeper from a spiritual standpoint that you must apply and that you must go through. You cannot get around it. You've got to have the life wisdom experiences and the deeper relationship with the spiritual aspect of things in order to really, really get it. There's no way around it. And so this is where you go through the degrees. There's no way around it. No way. You can be very cocky and think you understand, but you don't, and you won't. You just will not. And you get ripped up You have to have the dark night of the soul experiences over and over and over and over again. And here's the thing also, you must have a guide. You must have someone who is a wounded healer, who has gone through it, who has mastered these things. You must have a good shepherd who has experienced these things, who can help you. No way around it. Now, there are people who go through the whole argument as to whether or not Jesus, Yeshua ever existed. You can get stuck on that argument if you want. You want to talk about whether it's a metaphor, you want to talk about whether he existed or not. You're going to miss the whole point. Okay? Let's get into the Good Shepherd. Now, for those of you who remember this statue, there was an Ankh that was on top of it. I've moved a lot, and I've had some people who have helped me who have unfortunately not fully respected. But let's get into Zayu Nefer, which is the original term for the Good Shepherd. Now, we talked yesterday about the palm frond. The palm frond, and I'm going to go back to the visual that I gave yesterday. Let me give you the overlay. Now, you can be as snooty, intellectual, elitist, whatever, if you want to, regarding this, getting on this whole high horse about whether Jesus existed or not. I ain't got no kind of beef with Jesus, okay? I mean, I built a relationship with Jesus, from when I was young. When I went through, I learned in the metaphysical church the deeper aspects of Jesus. Even when I tried to at one point, I remember I got very angry because of the fact that my children had been abused by their father, and I couldn't understand. And I mean, here I'd been a very faithful Christian, and I couldn't take it. I took my Bibles and threw them in the trash. I did. And then I went on this whole spiritual journey, but then I go to this metaphysical church where these people are extremely open-minded, take me to deep spiritual teachings where we had to learn about world religions. I mean, I learned about Hinduism. I learned about, I mean, you name it, okay? But then, and I remember I go into this church and there's this big old cross behind the pulpit that's lit up. And I was like, and while they're teaching about Buddhism and all this other stuff, still there's this big old cross behind the pulpit. And, they're singing hymns and so forth. And the ministers, every Sunday there would be a different minister. And they're singing they're teaching about their own personal philosophies. There was this one man, Jack, who was a performer. And so his messages would always be full of Broadway tunes, okay? Everybody was very different. One minister, she was Native American, and so she would come from that perspective. But still, I'm thinking, why is there that big old lit up cross? And some people would talk about, well, we're interfaith. Why do we have to have that big old cross? But then one of the teachers, once I signed up as a what was called a licentiate. This is to become a licensed minister, and the only reason I did was because the fact that I had all these signs that this is what I was supposed to do, and two of the ministers had dreams about me, and they came to me and told me that they had these dreams about me, and this is what I was supposed to be doing and so forth. And I didn't want to hear that, even though I knew that was my calling. And one said to me, your life's not going to come together right unless you answer your calling. And I knew that was the truth, so I ended up signing up, for the courses to become a licensed minister. And one of the world religions courses, one of the courses was a mystical course about the mystical life of Jesus. And so you found out about what happened to him before he started his ministry, and how he went to Egypt, and before his ministry, and then also how he went to India. And so, so it took me in deeper, and it opened my mind back up. So, and then there was this experience that I had where Jesus came to me in this meditation before one of the initiations that I had, and I was just like, here he is again. So ultimately, I came to this place of non-judgment and opening myself back up, and then also remembering that the experiences that I had were I couldn't throw them out. And this is not to try to, I'm not trying to proselytize or anything like that. And I can say that there are a lot of people who are Khametic who also say, and it's like they say it like this, like they're embarrassed, or they're afraid to say out loud because they don't want to be shunned by the Khametic community, in saying, I don't have a problem with Jesus, but I don't want other people to say, to shun me. And it should not be that way. It should not be that if they're still cool with Jesus, that they should not feel like they're afraid to be shunned by the Khametic community. That's not right. It's not right that they should feel that they'll be shunned by the so-called conscious community. That's not right. It should not, other people who are also in the so-called indigenous faith practicing community, it should not be that if they have their own personal relationship with Yeshua, with Jesus, that they should feel as though they're going to be shunned. That's not right, because that's as much prejudice as anybody else. That's not right. Okay? And also, if you really start getting into the mystical aspects of the teachings, then you'll find out that you need to really check yourself before you wreck yourself, That's all I have to say, okay? But now, for those of you who are on the, and then I was going to say, that there are those who respect Jesus as a prophet. Just wherever you are with the Jesus experience, then that's where you are. And you should not try to knock others because of the fact that they have their experiences, okay? So, okay. And you know, in the indigenous faith practicing communities, there are those, I mean, even in, listen, for those who are in, Umbandistas, there are many who understand that Oshanla or Oshala or Obatala is the later incarnation of Jesus. Okay, the big cross that you see in Brazil, they understand it to be Oshanla. Okay, and also there is um, um, there is La Sancta Sala La Kali, who I love. I absolutely love. She is said to be the saint who it was the attendant. Brandon, how are you, dear? Welcome. She is said to be the saint. Yeah, look her up. La Santa Sara La Kali, the Black Saint Sarah, who is believed to be either the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, or to be the attendant saint of the Mother Mary when she traveled to France for safety after Jesus died. But whatever side of things, her relics exist, and she is a beautiful, beautiful saint, and I adore her. She is a precious saint to the Romani people, and also to all who are travelers. She is dear to anyone who are of people who were travelers, like the migrant workers, those who were migrant farmers, people who traveled, even for, like with my family, who were my family, they were my family worked the farms. They were I can't think of the term right now. They were sharecroppers in the South. However, they were also Melungeon, and so how we got here on apparently from my grandmother's side of the family. And the Melungeons, it's believed that they were of Brazilian origin, some of them, and the Portuguese blood, the shipwreck, and how we got here. But and we're sacred to those of us who are touring artists. But if you look her up, and she's the Black Saint, and she's beautiful. She's a water saint, patron of the waters, and she's from Egypt, the Black Saint of Egypt. So again, the full circle experience, and she's okay. All right, so back to I'm sorry, she just makes me so happy. So Oh, you looked her up? Christine, did you look her up? Yeah, she's beautiful. What's the spelling? Okay, Trisha, that's La, L-A, and then Santa, S-A-N-T-A, Sarah, S-A-R-A, La, L-A, and then Kali, K-A-L-I. Kali, like the the saint, the goddess Kali, meaning black, but also referring to Egypt. She takes my breath away. She's yes. And I want to shout out. Let me do a quick shout out to. It was when I started studying Umbanda. Let me shout out who it was that brought her to my attention. It was because he said, "Oh, she's calling to you. She's all over you, especially with your profession." And as soon as I saw her, I was like, "Oh!" Shout out! Hold on. Dominic Guerriero. Yes, Dominic Guerriero. Shout out to him. Because it was just like he said, she's waiting for you. She's been waiting for you, and yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. Okay. Back to him. So I talk about him every year at this time because he was the original Good Shepherd. And this loop is around the shepherd's crook. So, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she beautiful? That blue cape is her mantle. And there's a prayer that you'll find that is, if you see the Sansa tradition, if you look up the Sansa tradition, it's the Puerto Rican, and I call that out because of the fact that we have Puerto Rican blood in my family. We have the Dominican, Puerto Rican, and Haitian tradition, but there is a brother who is wonderful. What is his name? Hold on. Because I actually have the prayer in my phone for La Santa Sara La Cali. And, you give credit where credit is due. And the prayer to Santa, or you call her, she's also called Sara Kali. She is the prayer. You pray to her. She is the saint who brings. There are a couple of places you can find her prayer. It says, "I pray to Sara Kali, the saint who brings out the sunken and desperate." And this is a prayer by Ninette Karen Fernandez. This is an English translation. She is the patroness of the exiles, the desperate, and the gypsy people. Gypsy is not a PC term anymore. Okay, just so you know. But this had a fervent participation in the action of preserving the legacy of Jesus of Nazareth after his death. She's a little known saint. She is venerated with great force by a people that will never let her name die, keeping her on high for so many favors. Yeah, beautiful prayer to the Saint Sarah Kali for protection. Okay, so the website here, this is not the original one that I was referring to, but this is a beautiful website here. I want to give credit here. This is, let me see, this is ashepamikuba.com. Let's see, this is, and I have reference also to her in my new book. Please order my new book. Because I discovered her during my time of trauma, healing from my trauma. And so she's in my new book. So I should just, because I'm shouting all these other people, but I do refer to, I need to promote my new book more, okay? So, and this is something, because my therapist keeps saying, you keep doing this externalizing thing, and you need to bring it back to yourself, which is something I did learn, okay? So, but yeah, so let me, yes, go to imaku.info/store. I called out to her. Did that come up? Were you able to see it? Great. Okay. No? All right, let me. Let me see. She was very much part of my healing journey. Very much. Because you call out to her when you are just in a place where you're just, you see it? Okay, great. And there was a retreat that I went on where I was a guest presenter. And as a token of love, I gave her shawl, her beautiful blue shawl, this color, to my host. And I presented it to her in a lovely, lovely bag. And she just looked in it and she just took it and went to the side, did like this. And I remember I went, and my host's husband, we were in her house at the dining room table, the kitchen room table, and both of us just went. I almost took it back. She didn't even say thank you. And it was like an indicator of how the whole weekend went, because she was so rude. She was so rude. especially because La Santa Sara La Kali her energy is so gentle and so sweet, yet so powerful. She is like sweeter than Oshun, sweeter than Hatmeit. That's saying something. She's just but so powerful. And her mantle is just like this. And the fact that, this woman was a priestess of Shango. She just looked at it like this and just went. She might as well just take it and just throw it out in the trash. All I could think of was, I don't even know what's going to happen to this woman after I leave. Anyway. Okay. Now, let me further break down about this. Yeah, Christina, yeah, major boo. Major boo. It was so rude. Okay. Let me just tell you. So, that loop also is an indicator of what is called Za, which is protection. It is a loop which is an indicator of jewelry or something that is worn, an amulet. Well, actually, yeah, let me just say, Trisha, what I did later, she was in the kitchen alone. And I went in there and I explained to her what it was. And she said, "Oh, okay. Thank you." And then she went in and she showed me her Shango altar. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, we're getting somewhere. But then there was another opportunity later where she was very, very rude to me. Very rude, and in front of other people. And that's when I said to her aide, okay, now she owes me a public apology. She did publicly apologize to me, okay? But I was like, that's two, all right? I just hope that I'm not here if her house burns down, okay? Make sure that whatever happens, it happens after I leave, all right? All right. So the fact that this symbol is around the shepherd's crook that the shepherd has shows you how the shepherd is the guardian, okay? The other thing is, now yesterday we were talking about how the good Lord, the palm frond, when it is straight and has a little loop at the end, though, when you're waving it, like we're talking about how the people were waving the palm frond when Jesus was coming into town on the back of a donkey, on the back of a donkey, and like they were welcoming him. But in truth, in Kemet, when they were waving the palm frond, they were doing it in a funeral procession. Like this is the send off. Like, I hope you have a good afterlife. So here Jesus was coming into town on the back of a donkey, like they were welcoming him, but in truth, they were copying the Khametic tradition of waving the palm frond. Like they were saying, ha, you about to die, you about to die. So anyway, in looping the palm frond, what I was doing was looping it like the time loop, and also because the fact that this was replicating like an homage to Heket, and she was sitting on, just as a reminder, the little frog was sitting on her own little loop, which is a Shenu, which represents the circle of time. Anyway, but yeah, I do. Thank you. I do need some honey and tea. The Shenu, which represents time and the time portal. But in this case, also, we're reminded how the shepherd is a protector and guards the life of his sheep. And when you have, in this case, we're talking about Za, a protector. It's a guardian of your life. Zayu is the protector. The shepherd is a protector of the sheep. Nefer means good. Zayu Nefer, the good shepherd. But we also see how the word Zat also means tomb, grave. Oh, also, it says here that Zah, shepherd, was a title for Asar. Now, Anjeti and Asar were originally called the Good Shepherd. Eventually, who was also called the Good Shepherd, that was Amun-Re. And I should say, the original Good Shepherd, Anjeti, was also known as a water Nechur, or a water guardian of the ninth nome. And he was highly respected as the Shepherd King. And so he was a precursor to, or forerunner of, Asar. All the attributes that were so well known to Anjeti were eventually given to Asar because of the fact that he was so very popular. And then those attributes were then given to Amun-Re. We see in the writings that were found of a very popular politician named or priest named Nebre, and these sacred writings are in the culminated writings in the Hosea, the selected writings. We see that Nebre, who wrote in tribute to Amun-Re, because the fact that he and his wife appealed to Amun-Re to save the life of his son, and he was so very grateful that he had these sacred writings that he wrote. And so in one passage he writes, "O Amun-Re, you shepherd who brings forth the flock in the morning, leading the hungry to green pastures. As the shepherd leads his flock to green meadows, so do you, O Re, lead the needy to food. For Re is indeed a good shepherd, never idle, attending those who lean on him. O Re, I love you, and I have filled my heart with you. You rescue me from the mouth of the multitude on the day when they speak lies against me. For the Lord of righteousness lives in righteousness. Thus I will not dwell on the anxiety in my heart, for surely what Re has said will come to pass." And so this is just one of the passages where he refers to him as the Good Shepherd. And on these writings, this is where you have what comes to be known as, or what the 23rd Psalm was based as. Here, based upon. Here we have, "You are mighty as a shepherd, tending all people for all eternity. Bodies are filled with your beauty, and the eyes see because of you. You inspire awe in everyone, and their hearts turn to you. For you are good at all times, and all the world lives from your presence." It's beautiful, beautiful writings. So, there are two prayers that are the most requested for translation in the Khametic language. One is the Lord's Prayer, and the other is the 23rd Psalm. And that's because they give great comfort. That's because they always have. And that's because the fact that they have their origins in the Khametic language, and people know this. There is great power in these prayers. And because they work. They work. And so I know that Baba Heru has told me that he had done his version and a translation of the Lord's Prayer or the 23rd Psalm. I don't remember. But he had said he would like to have me send me his version, my version. Yeah, and in fact, whenever I check my stats, I find that the Lord's Prayer and the 23rd Psalm are always the two most, they get the most views. So they're still in the book, so I kept them. They were my last book, they're still in the new one, so yes. So as we draw to a close, and if there are no further questions, I'll end today with the 23rd Psalm. Do not feel as though you should have any kind of shame when it comes to dealing with the question of the existence of Jesus, and if you have him in your life. And also, people will say, there was no such thing as Jesus, and Jesus didn't exist, and the word didn't exist, and there was no such thing as a J sound, ja. Listen, yes, there was. When you say Uncle Ja Seneb, Wuja, that's the J sound, that's ja, Wuja. And yes, Jesus, the word existed. And it meant that there were several meanings. All of them refer to chief, leader, and one definition of Jesus or Jesus means a goddess. Yes, yes. There are many teachings regarding, if you look in the Sophia Pistis, the question of who Mary Magdalene was, and also the role of Sophia being Sefek Abi. Sefek Abi was Seshat, and there are a whole lot of different aspects of in terms of interpretation as to who the role of Jesus was. Many point to the reincarnated Kenemu, and one of his names was Jesus. Whatever that may be, whoever that may be for you, take comfort, okay? Be realistic. Stop buying into myths. Do your research and find what is real and relevant for you in your life, okay? That's what is important. And stop being judgmental, okay? Hesi. Here's Psalm 23. Dadneb pe Zayuni. The Lord is my shepherd. Anuk entinen sep. I am never in need. Idake. Ifedeki em anjuwaj. You grant or give or cause my resting place in green pastures. Kerebek. Ni her anjuseger. You lead me beside still lakes and ponds. Chebek an. You restore my soul. Kerebek ni em yatu maet em renes jeser maet. You lead me to righteous paths in the holy name of Maet. Tu tegasni em antek anetet tek seker. Yes, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Hem anuk wujasep em espet. But I am fearless of evil. Heterek, you are my companion. Nekuni em hekek I nekekek. Comfort me through your shepherd's crook and flail. Sepedek eterni heri bak sentiuni. You prepare my feast in the presence of my enemies. Ushebni sefsef. My cup overflows. Merchet. Tepni em merchet. You anoint my head with oil. Neferet I name em ketni. Surely goodness and mercy follow me. Heru nebu em anki. All the days of my life. I anki em het neter nekek. And I live in God's house forever. Amen. 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 Many, many blessings to you all. Have a blessed, blessed day tomorrow, a blessed evening, and may Mother Newt watch over you in this night. May Vesu guard your sleep, and have a blessed evening, a blessed tomorrow. Much love. Resui Nechem. Have blessed sleep. Sweet dreams. And please visit my store if you want to order my book, imaku.info/store. Much love.